Mm. Right, so welcome Rasmus to what's our first Continental European Speedway video interview. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome you along tonight, and thank you for giving up some time to answer some questions that we've got for you. So first of all, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Didn't know it was your very first interview, so I'm honored to be number one.
Yeah, okay. So let's go. So first question here. I want to go right back to your early days when you first started racing Speedway, and kind of ask you what age you were when you first started, and where you did your first racing.
Well, I don't remember much, but I was in motocross before Speedway because I remember I have a trophy from 1998 in motocross.
Okay.
But my first official season on the small PV50s we have in Denmark as the youngest class, I started when I was 7, so that'll be 2001.
Okay. And was that in Holsted or?
Yeah. I'm born and raised in the city or the small village, but yeah, it's I've done 24th year for the club next year, I think.
Wow, that's some record then. And having started so young, do you think Denmark's kind of got it right by having these little PW50s and getting the children, or the youngsters started so early?
I think what Denmark used to do was the way forward. I'm kind of seeing a bad result of what's happening now. Lack of license and not many going through, and I think it's a bit of a mixture between too many classes. And from what I can hear by speaking to some people that's involved in the younger classes, I think we're growing up in too much of a curling generation. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think it's ridiculous that they've taken away the Danish championship individually on the young bikes, and they've taken away the youth gold trophy on 80cc, and they're taking all that stuff away from what I remember was a hunger to try and win, and what kind of wanted me to do better and better, and not just being a part of it, but they're still having that hunger to win something. And I think it's a shame they're taking the entire, like, the real championships away. They still have the tournament and that stuff, but taking away the.
Is it like the qualifiers or?
Sorry.
So what, have they taken away some of like the qualifying meetings or?
No, like basically on the small bikes, the 50cc, they're taking away what was used to be called the Danish Championship.
Okay.
So now you just race the tournament.
Right.
And on 80cc, they've taken away the, like, what's the official World Championship.
Okay.
And still just ride tournament stuff, and I think that's a shame.
Yeah, and yet, when I consider what happens here in Scotland, when I look at Denmark as a country with 5 million people, and Scotland's a country with 5 million people as well, sort of looking from the outside in, it looks as like there's so much going on there that isn't happening here. So it's a shame to hear that maybe it's gone backwards a wee bit.
Yeah, I've never really think England has done much towards the young people, and I'm still surprised you have like that high class riders when it's hard not having something from the younger generation.
Definitely.
As I take it in England, I've only ever seen. I think I remember back when I rode for Plymouth that Lee Trigger's son was riding on his, I think it was some Chinese pit bike or something, like after the meetings or something. But I think it's definitely something England should look into. If they haven't done it before, then they should start with it. I know it's difficult with practice days and that, and I'm not sure how the rules is 100%.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Edinburgh, which is my local track, they're restricted to 2.5 hours a week, where bikes can run because they're surrounded by houses, as you know. So I think that obviously that's a big problem as well.
Of course.
Yeah. So when you were growing up as a youngster, who were your big heroes that you looked up to? I remember when I was a boy playing speedway or on push bikes, trying to pretend I was certain riders? And what about you? Who were you looking up to?
Lee Adams.
Well, funnily enough, one of my best friends, kind of when I was a teenager, he always used to love Greg Boyce, and Lee Adams was kind of me. So,
All right.
yes, we
Yeah,
were running about on push bikes trying to race each other.
Because I remember back from very early days that I live on a decent sized farm, and we had like different like concretes here and
Yeah.
indoor like for big tractors and that kind of machines. And we used to have like this you get this colorful and you can draw on the roads and concrete with this
yeah.
outside pencil who washes away in the rain. And we used to draw like the whole Grand Prix series on my farm, and we had like different circuits and then do the push bike rides.
That's brilliant. Yeah. So and so you said you've been racing for Holstead for 24 years now. So obviously it must be pretty special riding for your hometown club.
Yeah, of course. It's always a great pressure turning up to the track in what I would call home. I've spent probably the same amount of time at that track as I have at my house.
Brilliant, yeah.
So it's always special, but it still comes with a great amount of pressure every time I have to do a meeting, because
of course
I've lived here since I was born, so obviously I know more than half the spectators around the stadium, their friends and families and schoolmates and whatever.
Yeah, that's brilliant though. And then looking to the UK, so I kind of looked through the clubs you've raced for. Which clubs have you really enjoyed racing for in the UK, and why?
It's hard to really put an exact team as who I love to ride for. Like obviously, Plymouth will always be a little bit special in my heart because they're the ones that brought me over.
Mm-hmm.
When I rode for Plymouth, I thought Somerset was the place to go, and I was happy to be there for the finishing part of that one season. And Workington was also very special, like winning the entire treble with some of my great mates who I see outside Speedway as well, like Rene and Nikolai, of course. So that was kind of special. And during the first and only season in the Elite League with Swindon, which I used to go to Swindon when I rode for Plymouth back in 2014. I used to fly into Heathrow every Thursday Arvo, and then I'd take the train to Swindon and stay with Todd Kurtz, and we'd go to Swindon on Thursday. So it was always a dream kind of to ride for Swindon because I thought it was a cool place, and then going there and winning the double.
Yeah, amazing. And I mean, it's a few years since I've been at Swindon, but I've enjoyed going down to Swindon lots of times to not just for the racing, but also some quite good social life in the town after the racing. So it's probably not changed.
So basically, I would say it's very hard to put a because I've kind of enjoyed actually every season I had over there on a different kind each place, but it's still been incredibly good the time I had over there.
Fantastic. And then over in Sweden, you're with Dakarna for several years now. Do you think in Sweden there's similar is it a similar sort of experience to riding in Denmark, or is there more pressure or less pressure, do you think?
Pressure wise, I would kind of say it's the same. But no, not to say that the tracks in Denmark are bad or anything, but Sweden is a place I just really enjoy to ride in. The tracks are well prepared. It's a nice country. You always it's like one of those countries that just makes you happy to go to because it's such a nice country. So cool. I just enjoy riding in Sweden, really.
Cool. And then so if we move on to Poland now, so this is your first year in Extraliga, and I looked at a video that you did with Falubaz TV, I think just when you joined them, and you kind of alluded to the fact that the big goal last year was to get into Extraliga, which you've managed now, and you're going well for them this year. Now there's going to be a lot of people listening to this who certainly in continental European Speedway who haven't actually been in Poland. So I'm looking for you to kind of tell us what it's like racing in Zielona Góra in that stadium, because the first time I went to Zielona Góra, I was almost frightened standing in amongst these fans, and I thought I better buy a Zielona Góra t-shirt just to be one of them.
One on.
Yes. So yeah, exactly. So what's it like actually riding in Extraliga and in Zielona Góra?
You might have to excuse my language here, but it's fucking awesome. Like the fans are crazy in Zielona Góra, but in a good way. I've always heard stories, but I wouldn't like. Obviously, I got the bit of it last year because they're pretty much the same enthusiasm, no matter if you're in the first division or Extraliga. But the meeting in Scorpio was special. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Like it was. Yeah. I don't think you can explain it if you haven't been there.
It is difficult to explain, and the first time I was there, I was with a Polish guy and well, two of my best friends, one from Scotland, one from Poland, and they were all chanting all these things, and I was kind of saying to him, "What are they actually saying?" And he said, "You don't want to know. It's so horrible. I don't even want to translate it for you." But it was amazing.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was Shemek. I asked at one point what they were yelling to each other, and it's like, "You f dogs," and like, it was just like it was such a cool experience to witness.
Yeah, totally. So then looking ahead, so this weekend, you guys are off to Torren. Is that a meeting that you feel confident that you can keep kind of quite close, or maybe do even better?
Yeah, for sure. Like obviously our goal is to win all the matches, which is the goal for every team, regardless of what sport you turn up to. Your goal is always to win. But I think with the obviously being realistic in that, I think if we're hitting it good, it should be possible to get a narrow win. But also if we got one or two guys not performing, it's near on impossible. Torren is a strong side. Any team in Extraliga is a strong side.
Yeah.
But yeah, we go there with high hopes, of course. I don't think many people had hopes that when we went to Lublin, but I'm sure we can get it should be a good meeting.
Decent result. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And if everybody's performing a little bit extra, then yeah, an narrow win should be possible for sure.
Okay, good luck. So next kind of thing I wanted to talk about was just how the last couple of years kind of things have improved for you, and you've gradually got more and more success. So in 2022, you had a 15-point maximum to become Danish champion. Last year, when I was in Wroclaw for the World Team Cup, you were the top Dane in the World Cup final. Do you think there's a secret to this success, or do you think it's like natural progression that just improving year on year?
Well, I was kind of standing still in my career for a few amount of years, but I think that was coming down to not enjoying it, and financially it wasn't going very good. So obviously it takes the joy out of it. And but now, like when the finance is there and like the results are coming slowly and gradually, the enjoyment is much higher as well. Like I remember a few years ago, like before it started going pretty good. I remember going to meeting. I was like, oh, it was more of like going to a job that you didn't really like.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, I do too from not speaking. But now, like I have the hunger every winter as well to go back racing, and just my whole attitude towards the sport has changed. I don't know if it might also because I'm getting older and that things change in the body and that. But yeah, now I have much more enjoyment of riding and doing the traveling and just everything that comes with it. Really, like all the negative sides is not as bad as they were for me.
I'll come to the travelling in a minute or two, but so just I mean, after in the SGP qualifier at Abensberg, so now you're in the SGP Challenge at Pardubice at the end of the season. Is that a track that you like or have ridden often, or and are looking forward to going to?
Yeah, it's a nice track for sure. It's tough. It's very tough, and I think a lot of it will come down to which gate position you will get to of, because it is hard. It's difficult to make it from 3 or 4 because it's a wide track.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had good memories, and I've finished third in the Golden Helmet 2 years ago. Okay. So that was pretty decent, and I think I finished. I didn't make it through the last chance in the sec round, but I think I finished third in that. Like runoff to where top 2 goes to the final.
Yeah.
So I have good memories.
It holds no fears for you then going forward. Yeah. That's cool. And then, so now a couple of questions about your sponsors. What does it mean to be a part of the 3PL sponsorships?
Oh, it's great. I remember back in, year did he join me? 2019, 2020. I remember it being only me and Nikolai. And like obviously it's one of those sponsors that you not just go to visit at the end of the season and like thank you for the year and talk to them a few times during the season. Like a lot of the off season we went to his like every second year he's hosting and then a Christmas party for all his co-workers, and because he has an office in Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Denmark, Estonia, and going to a for a whole weekend.
I've seen photographs.
Last year was in Gdansk, and the previous time was in Kolding in Denmark. And also we've been to his 15 years anniversary in Vilnius, Lithuania, for the company over there. So it's a lot of going to stuff, but it's sometimes you'd hate to do that, but the parties and arrangement, like when you go to the thing, it's great fun. So you also want to kind of clear your calendar to go to these things because they're so well organized and so fun to be a part of, and many of the employees there, I speak with them very good. So it's a fun time.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I've followed the 3PL Facebook pages for months now, and I remember seeing the Christmas party in Gdansk and seeing photographs of some of the things that went on. So in recent years, would it be fair to say that Paul Christensen has had a good impact on your career then?
For sure, and even though if I have questions regarding how to, because he runs a business in multiple countries, so obviously if I have some business-wise questions, he's also a guy I can reach out to. So it's not just the financial side; he's just a big help throughout.
Yeah, and he tells me that you like a good party.
Sometimes.
Is it true? Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting him myself, to be honest.
Obviously, when you've been invited to go to Gdansk with the hotels and flights and like the best food you can possibly, some of the best food I can possibly eat, it's all there, and this I don't know how many was in Gdansk, on the plus side of 100 people, and
wow.
And I was there with Rene and Klaus Wissing and Nikolai Klint, and obviously the other riders he sponsors as well. But we traveled there together, and so and we see each other a lot in private as well. Anyway, so it's like going on a.
It's almost like being part of a family then.
Yeah, exactly, and going with your friends, it's always going to end up a little bit hectic.
So, you talked about the traveling becoming easier as you're getting older. So my friend and I, when we go to Poland for a weekend, we always come back exhausted. And okay, we like a vodka or two, but we're only doing this like twice or thrice a year. So we don't know how you guys manage it for 6 months at a time. I mean, how do you stay organized when you're traveling across all these countries every week?
I know what you mean, but I feel like when you're in the start of every season, it's like kind of like you have a hangover every time you come home, but your body is kind of getting used to the daily swaps and all that. So that is, after the first 2 weeks, it's a hell of a lot easier than just doing it two, 3 times a year.
So I need to start going to Poland every week.
Yeah, then. If you go every week, mate, I swear.
It gets easier.
Yeah, it will get easier. For sure.
Okay. Yeah.
The planning stop. For me, when I don't ride in England, I don't really fly. I have only a handful of flights every year. If not, I sit in the car.
Okay.
Because the workshop is based where I live anyway. So, but yeah, it's just booking a few hotels but the planning is not bad when you don't do England. I don't reckon we more or less we always go back to Denmark after a Polish match. So there's no ferries and Sweden. We don't use a hotel. We just drive there Tuesday morning and come back Wednesday. Like we're back in hostel Wednesday morning when we have a Danish league meeting. So the planning is not that bad from my side. I know if you take riders who's having a Polish setup with Polish mechanics, and let's take Brady for example, rides in Sweden, England, Poland, and having a Polish mechanic, there's a lot more planning with the ferries for him to go to Sweden, and he has to fly to every meeting. I just go in the car.
Okay.
And then put the GPS to wherever we're going.
Okay, cool. So when you're not racing, when you don't have maybe, or if you have a few days off, how do you relax? Have you got any hobbies or interests away from Speedway?
Yeah, anything that gets my head away from Speedway is kind of my hobby when I'm not. But me and my dad is doing some. Well, we do all kinds of different stuff in the workshop together, restoring a moped once in a while. And right now I'm building a new workshop. So that's taking quite an amount of time. So I'm just doing that when I'm home, playing some computer games with my friends who some of them it's not involved in Speedway at all. So just talk about old times and
cool.
Seems like everyone else, spending time with your friends and family.
It's important to do these things when you can, and if you've got a few days off, I suppose. So, and then one final question.
And I live on a farm, so there's always grass to cut.
Yeah, well, of course. I thought I had a big grass out the back, but yeah, it's not like a farm. So, final question. What's it like? I mean, do you enjoy being part of this group that we have, the Continental European Group?
Oh, it's brilliant, mate. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. I mean,
obviously, it's I wouldn't even want to think about how the amount of time and work you put into finding all these informations, and I'm just in shock sometimes.
Yeah, it's a kind of labor of love, but usually I feel like I've got a hangover by the time we get to October. I need a rest.
I'd imagine.
Anyway, I just want to.
You just need to start sending the British Speedway.
Yeah, it's been asked many times.
I could imagine.
Yeah, maybe one day. Anyway, I want to say thank you so much, Rasmus, for your answers.
My pleasure.
Best of luck for the rest of the season, mate. And I'm coming over to Denmark for the second time in August when I come back for the Danish final. So wish you best of luck for that, and maybe catch up with you there and be able to say hello.
If I qualify, then yes.
I think you will. Okay, so thanks very much for joining us, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Cheers.